Hinduism. Hinduism, some of you may be knowing that it is one of the major religions in the world, and it is the oldest continuing religion in the world, oldest surviving or oldest continuing religion in the world. So we will be doing a course on what is this history, what is this Hinduism. Hinduism is, the spelling is Hinduism, Hinduism, Hinduism. I am saying this because many people in the West, they are not even aware that there is a religion called Hinduism. So when we go abroad and when you say that you are a Hindu, then people will ask, is it a religion? Yes, then we should say, yes, it is a religion. It is a religion which is followed by about 900 million people in the world, mostly in India. So that is what we are. And then it is necessary that we have to have some basic idea about what are the fundamentals of Hinduism. This course is mainly intended for school students, boys and girls who are in their teens, maybe from 10th, maybe in the age group of 10 to 15, 10 to 16 or 10 to 20, depending on their say inquisitiveness, depending on their level of maturity. So it is intended for say students of that in that bandwidth, let us say. And parents, it is also advisable that the parents also may see this, because I may be referring to some of the books, I may be referring to some websites. So those books may be read to the students. Suppose I say, kindly read this book, some book on some historical say fact. So the parents also, I request that they may also have a look at this particular class. So this basically is intended to the students. Why I am saying this is, in India there is a total absence of any instruction about what is a religion in India. In other countries which I have seen, for example in America, the students are told about the fundamentals of Christianity, the fundamentals of Islam, the fundamentals of Judaism, the fundamentals of Buddhism, the fundamentals of Hinduism, all major religions they are told. In America, same is the case with other countries also, many of the Western countries. So a student is given some say introduction. But it can happen that the people who teach about Hinduism, they may not be very well aware of the actual thing about Hinduism, or somebody who has prepared the lesson plan, he might be having his own notions. They may be right, or the understanding may be right or may be wrong. So such say problem is there. And it is also seen in some cases that the students, they felt bad that their religion was rather primitive, and then because the school students and the teachers, they were saying, oh, you worship so many gods, you have got so many gods. You have got Hanuman who is a monkey, you have got some Ganesha who is an elephant, you have got some other snake as a god, you have got a cow as a god, etc., etc. So sometimes the students feel rather depressed. Oh, we are worshipping all these things, what is all this? So the students, they do not know the fundamentals. They do not know that this is not the religion, this is not the be all and end all, this is not the final say picture. There is much beyond, there is a lot of philosophical inquiry. So all these things they are not told to the students. So it is possible that the students, they get a bad picture of or a very negative picture of the religion. So that is what can happen to people outside India. But within India there is enormous ignorance. We think that in India, the students, they are very well aware, students, they know about Hinduism, etc., etc. In India, there is total ignorance, more ignorance than in other countries. In fact, maybe people who are outside, they may be teaching something to their children. But here in India, the students, the children, they may be observing some of the rituals which are being performed by their parents. They just go to the temple and then maybe break a coconut, and then they say they offer some dakshina or some sort of some offering to the to that priest or to the temple, and then they come out and then they think that that itself is the religion. Today they go to one temple of Lord Krishna, tomorrow they go to another temple of Shiva, and the student, of course, there is no questioning nature in India. In other countries there is a lot of questioning nature. Here, of course, there is no questioning nature. You go to any temple, you worship, only at some point of time, then people start questioning. When other people, they say, "Arey, what is you? You are having so many gods, you are having so many systems, etc., etc." Then these people will start say questioning why, what is the truth. And the parents are unable to say, because parents also have not read the basic texts like Bhagavad Gita. I am just giving a name called Bhagavad Gita. That is one of the basic texts of Hinduism. So the parents also do not read. So that is our problem. So keeping all this in mind, it is necessary that we have to do a small course on what are the essentials of Hinduism. So having said that, I will just tell as to what exactly is religion. What is the meaning of religion? You may show the slide on what is religion. What is the basic nature of religion? So if you see the word religion, it is not exactly an English word. It is from a Latin. It is derived from Latin actually. We know that most of the words are borrowed from various other languages. So same is the case with English. So it has borrowed word from Latin. So Latin root, there is a root which is Ligare. I am not sure how to pronounce. It may be ligare or something like that. Ligare, Ligare, which means to bind. So religion is something which binds some people, say to a doctrine, which binds the people to some sort of some ideas. They come to accept some ideas. They agree on certain incidents. So because they agree on certain things, they come together and then they are together. So that is what the word literally means. Then we have to, if we see the Indian word, that is the Hindu word for religion, it is dharma. Dharma, dharma, that is the word. It is derived from one Sanskrit root called dhr, dhr, you can say dhr, which means to hold, dhr, to hold, to sustain, to hold something from falling apart. So suppose there are certain things which are crumbling. You are just holding it, you are not allowing them to crumble, you are allowing them to sustain, you are allowing them to grow, you are allowing them to prosper. So that sort of thing is called dharma. That which holds, that which supports, that which sustains something is called dharma. So now we have to see what is it that sustains, what is it that holds, what is it that binds. Because there can be several things in society which may be binding factors. For example, family is one binding factor. The child sees the parents, he is bound to the parents are bound to their parents, we are also bound to our relatives. These are all called that is why we call bandhu, somebody who is bound. So bandhu means a relative. So somebody who is related. There are so many people who are related. So we share some common opinions and then some common habits and common customs, and then we do come together. So family is one institution, social institution, which binds people. So similarly, there are some other institutions like law. One of the main institutions is law. Law can be two types. One is some sort of criminal law. That is, all people have to follow certain rules. The basic thing, the fundamental rules which we understand, they are the traffic rules. The traffic cop, the traffic regulations, there are certain traffic regulations and all are supposed to obey those traffic regulations. Similarly, there are many other rules, or say the law defines certain punishments. You should not do this. If you do this, you will go to jail. If you do this, you will be punished in this manner. So the law is there which punishes, and by way of reward and threat. So there is no reward in law, it is only threat. By threat, it says, okay, you have to follow so and so, all these rules. So many people, they are bound by law. We are bound by a constitution. Constitution is slightly bigger, because constitution, it also says what are the duties of people. So it tells what are the rights of an individual, what are the human rights, etc. The right to right to education, right to property, etc. There are so many rights which are there in the constitution also. So like this, law and constitution, they are all things which bind. But then we don't call the textbook of law a religion. We don't call constitution a religion. Constitution of India or constitution of United States, we don't call them religion. we use that word religion to a totally different set of things which are binding people. What are those different things which bind people? So if we see that there are certain questions, say for human beings, these questions, they are not new questions, they have been there ever since man has say come into existence. Right from primitive days, what we call primitive days, maybe some 10,000 years ago or 15,000 years ago, even then human beings were there, human societies were there. They were also wondering. They were just looking at the sky and then they were wondering as to what is this, say, thunder, what is this lightning, what is this rain, what is this all about, how have I come into existence, how is it that I am able to see, how is it that my eye is only able to see and my eye is not able to smell. My nose is able to smell only and my nose is not able to see. And then, so we have got about 5 senses. The human being is endowed with 5 senses. And each sense can only perceive one object in nature. So there are, if you broadly define, say, the nature into 5 types of categories, that is earth, water, fire, etc. So the one sense corresponds to one object only. But the mind can perceive all the 5. So how is it that mind is there? And what is it which is motivating the mind? What is it that is impelling the mind? What is it that is making the mind function? So this is what man has been questioning for long time, particularly in India. In India, all these questions we find in texts which are at least some 5,000 years old. We call them Vedas and Upanishads. In those books, more than 5,000 years ago, there is a record, because our Vedas, they are the oldest record of mankind. There is no dispute about it. They are the oldest record. Rig Veda particularly is the oldest record of mankind. So we have been questioning, we have been putting all these questions to ourselves. What is it? And then the next question is there a creator for all this? Because when you look at any object, you look at something, you look at, say, something like a glass. This glass is made by somebody, some glass maker. There is some material for that. That material, from that material he has made this glass. He has heated that material and then he has molded it in a particular way. There is some material and then there is a maker. There is a maker and the material. So we see that all this nature is material. We ourselves are material. The only difference is we are able to see, we are able to perceive, we are able to cognize. And probably the stone there, the rock there, the mountain there, they are not able to see, they are not able to perceive. We do not know. God knows whether they really perceive us or not. So we call ourselves intelligent and we call them unintelligent. And then what is it behind our intelligence? Is there a maker for us? So these questions have been there. And for these questions, and the same questions continue even today. The same questions continue even today, because there are no answers for that so far. If at all science can ever answer those questions, then all these religions will have to wind up their shops. Because all the religions, they have to agree to that, because they are all verifiable facts. Science, it verifies, it tells in the laboratory, it conducts an experiment and then says what is intelligence and what is matter. The basic question now before modern science is, what is intelligence and what is matter? How is this intelligence coming into matter, or whether matter is producing intelligence, or whether intelligence is appearing as matter? These are various options. And this fundamental question was posed even in the Upanishads. We don't see, of course, in other religions. In Hindu religion, in the Hindu texts, we find this question posed at a very early time. So these questions are there which do not have any answer. So for these, particularly for a question whether somebody is there, whether some maker is there, there have been people, say at all times in history, somebody comes and says, yes, I have seen God. I have seen God, God has spoken to me, God has told me like this is the true God. You worship this as the true God. So what all he has to do is to proclaim it boldly, he has to say it with all confidence, and then he has to say face the consequences. The people of his the contemporary people may like him or may not like him. So some people may like him, some people may fight with him, and some people may disagree, some people may torture him. All these things can happen. So he has to brave it out. He has to brave it out, and then he has to pursue it for some time, and he should have that courage of conviction. And then more importantly, his followers also should have that conviction, and then they have to continuously preach that, and then they have to expand. So all major religions, if we see, they have expanded like this. So these questions about heaven, hell, etc., they have to be told. They cannot be verified. They have to be told by somebody who claims that he has seen God, he has, or rather God's say messenger or somebody has spoken to me. So something like that one has to say, and then he has to say, yes, God is like this. And there is a concept of heaven. What is this heaven? Say law is there for certain things, only for offenses. If you commit an offense, law is there to punish you. But there are many other things which cannot be mentioned in law. You have to do some charitable activity. You have to do some other good activity. You have to help the fellow human being. You have to be kind, etc. So they cannot be told in law. So this is part of good behavior. So if you simply say you do this good behavior, nobody may bother. Suppose somebody says, yes, if you do this dhanam, you will go to some a nice place. There is what is called heaven. So suppose it is like a parent promising his child, if you get 100% or 95%, I am going to take you to this particular hotel, or I am going to take you to Singapore or some other place. We will spend some time nicely and come back. So the parents, they do make such promises. So this say heaven, the idea of heaven is also like that, going to a nice hotel, having some nice time, spending some having some good food, good drink, etc. So heaven is such a place. And the converse of the contrast also should be there. That is, if you do something bad, like school teacher gives what is called a time out. So the school teacher makes the boy sit somewhere in a corner. So like that, so there is what is called a time out given by God in the name of hell. So there will be some torture. You will say you will go to so and so place if you kick people, if you do something say which you are not permitted to do, or which is not, of course, in the purview of law, but then which is supposed to be immoral, which is antisocial. So such conduct, if you do, you will go to hell. So that is something like God's punishment. It is something like a say time out given by the school teacher. So these things, they are told by somebody who is there, who claims to have seen God. So all said and done, all these things, they bind people. All these things, this sort of belief system, if we call them, all these things, they form a belief system over a period of time. Many other loose ends are joined, and then people write elaborate books, etc., etc. And then it is made into a very beautiful book and very beautifully published. And then it is said, yes, this is the truth. So that becomes sort of binding in nature. So religion, if you see, what is religion means? It is something which binds people with some belief system. So then we will continue next. What is religion? One important point which we have noted is, or which we have to note is, religion is usually based on the experience of a single person. It is some sort of revelation. So somebody says, yes, God has appeared to me, either in my dream or in my some sort of meditation, a stage of meditation, or in some such reverie. God has appeared to me, God has told me, okay, you go and fight these people, you go and do this, you go and do this. So somebody can say like that. So it is a historical event. It is something to do with a historic person. I am talking about many religions. It is something to do with a historic person having some sort of revelation, or having some sort of some sort of understanding with God, or some sort of darshan, or some sort of vision of that God. So that is what he claims. And as I said, what are his revelations? They are all codified into some sort of book by him, either by him or by his followers. Usually the religions which we see, they are not written by the prophets themselves, but their followers. Their followers have codified their teachings. So they are usually formed into some book, either one book or some small group of texts. So they become the basic texts for that say community. And another point we have to see is, usually it starts as a small group. See, go to see any religion, it starts as a small group. So in this connection, I refer to one book. The parents can read, secure a book called The Story of Mankind. I strongly recommend this book because it is written for children. The Story of Mankind by one American writer called Hendrik, Hendrik, Hendrik von Loon, V-O-N von, L-O-O-N Loon, Hendrik von Loon. This book is available on the internet too. So either that can be downloaded or a hard copy can be there. Hard copy, it is worth securing. So this book, or any such book, I happen to see this book which is written actually for children. So such book, if you see, it gives an account of how various religions have developed. They develop as a small trickle, because all said and done, it depends on one person, historical person. Till that time he was nobody. Suddenly he calls his relatives and says, I have seen God. And then the relatives, they believe in him. And then the relatives tell somebody else, their other close relatives, and then all his, say some people close to him, they start believing. So it starts as a trickle and slowly it gains. It may gain or may not gain. It gains because of some sort of muscle power also, some sort of political power if it is there. Suppose some king is there, luckily, and that king also accepts this particular belief system. Then he will say, yes, this is the rightest thing to do, and then you have to follow. In my kingdom, all the people are supposed to follow this system only. You break all other, say, temples, you do all, finish off all other people if they don't agree. So the king can say. So in that manner, religions, they do spread. And then this is what we have to see. We have to see in a religion. And then another point which we have to see is, they claim to be the only truth about God. They claim, of course, Hinduism does not say that. Hinduism does not say that we have some sort of monopoly on truth, or we don't say that, because our policy is to respect all religions and treat every religion as a means to realize the Supreme. Religion is not ultimate. In our system, religion is not ultimate. Of course, I am going to explain it later. But in the case of other religions, if you take Christianity or Islam or any other religion, religion is ultimate. Their book is ultimate. Their God is ultimate. Their heaven is ultimate. So beyond that, there is nothing. So in our system, we say, Hinduism says, religion is not the ultimate. You have visualized some sort of deity. After all said and done, it is something which has been visualized by the human mind. And then you can visualize it in any form. I am going to elaborate it in great detail later. But tentatively, what I say is, usually religions, they claim to be the only truth about God, and they also tend to persuade. Because when they feel, or when a lot many people feel that theirs is the only truth, they want to persuade others. You have to accept it. Otherwise, we can use force on you. My God has commanded me. My God has put this burden on me to convert the whole earth. So the religious leaders also, they say, unfortunately, the religious leaders also, they say, God has put this burden on us. We have to convert all the people into our faith. It is very, very unfortunate that people do say that. So this is one point. Then if we see something more about religion, the next slide on religion. Because religions claim to be the only truth, it can lead to problems, because the world is quite huge, and then in one part of the globe, one group of people, they are saying that they have got the only truth. In another corner, some other group of people are there who are claiming to be the only truth, claiming to have the only truth. So there can be some sort of conflict. There can be some clash. So this clash also is, these clashes are seen, because there is, it is not something based on something which is verifiable. For example, in science, if you say the area of a triangle, suppose there is a formula for an area of a triangle, or the area of a circle, there is a formula. Suppose there is what is called pi, and then r is radius. The area of a circle is given by the formula pi r square. There is no a plus b whole square reads something, and then there is no dispute about it, because something which is universally same. I will not say according to Hindu view the pi is something different, according to some other Christian view pi is different. Nobody will say. This is something which is verifiable. Whereas in the case of this religious belief, these are all unverifiable things. So there is likelihood, not only likelihood, there have been frictions, there have been mighty frictions, there have been mighty battles in society, and historians, they do record that millions of people got killed in religious clashes. More number of people died in the name of religion than for any other reason. So the countries were invaded. Countries is one group of people believing in a particular religion, they invade some other country, and then they try to convert all those people. So the countries were invaded and converted. Of course, again we have to point out that we never did it. Hinduism, they never did it. And then in history, if we see, many religions, many old religions, they got totally wiped out. If you see the history of South America, the civilizations, they were destroyed. For example, there is what is called a Mayan civilization, M-A-Y-A-N, Mayan civilization. Another thing called Inca, I-N-C-A civilization. And in England itself, there was what was called Druidism, D-R-U-I-D-I-S-M, Druidism. So these are all very, very peace-loving religions which promoted, contemplation on God, which promoted asceticism, good behavior, peace, non-violence. So these are such things. They got totally exterminated because of these clashes. So this is another thing which we have to see. Then I will just give a brief picture of the major religions in the world. What are the major religions in the world? So we can start with the whole population of the globe. The population of the globe is about 7 billion plus, and then every day it is increasing. So in this, the largest number belongs to Christianity. Though it started as a very, very small sect in the present day Israel, it has spread over a period of time. They also had a lot of political power, and they also had conquered several countries and then converted. That again, I recommended that book called Hendrik von Loon's The Story of Mankind, which is made for kids. And many other books are there, many other books which the parents can read and explain to children. So if you see the topmost religion or the largest religion is Christianity, with about 2 billion plus, and it is 2000 years old. We are now in 2014 of Christian era. So it is about 2000 years old. The next largest is Islam. Islam was born about 1400 years ago in a small place in the deserts of Arabia, in a small environment. And then this also followed the same policy of uniting political power with the religious belief and expanding slowly, and then forcibly converting people. This is again a fact which is borne out in history by several records, historic records. Several people in India itself underwent several problems, and hundreds of thousands of people were killed. So all these things have happened, and Islam happens to be the second largest religion with about 1.5 billion people. Then the third largest religion is Buddhism. Third largest. Buddhism is based on the meditations of Buddha. Buddha was not somebody who claimed to have seen God or anything. Buddha was silent on God. Buddha his experiments were only observing the society, observing the social problems, observing the human nature, following a path of asceticism, following a path of renunciation, following a path of giving up all desires. So it is a question of giving up and following a sort of ascetic path. It is one of the best religions for somebody who does not want to believe in God. For somebody who wants to believe in God, that's a different thing. But it is not a question of belief only, it is a question of philosophical argument also. Where Hinduism differs with Buddhism is, Hinduism has all those features of Buddhism, but it says that God or something, not in the shape of a personal human being, not in the shape of a personal God, but there is something called supreme reality. So that is the basic difference between Hinduism and Buddhism. So anyway, Buddhism was based on the personal experience of a person called Buddha, Gautama Buddha. Then this is again 2600 years old. Buddha was born 600 BC, around that time. So it is 2600 year old. Then Hinduism is again the fourth largest religion, mostly in the Indian subcontinent. Now of course we see India which has shrunk in size, but if you see the old maps of India, the whole Indian subcontinent, which included the present day Afghanistan, the present day Pakistan, the present day Sri Lanka, the present day Burma, the present day East Pakistan, etc., etc. The whole of it was called Bharata Khanda, and in the whole of this particular area, Hinduism was existing. Even about say 100 years ago. So in early olden times, all the whole area was called Bharata Khanda. So in this Bharata Khanda, Hinduism is not based on the personal experience of any single person, because it is one of the oldest religions. It is based on several texts which were written over a period of time. Of course, the very orthodox people say that these texts were never written. They came directly from the Creator. And then they were memorized by the priestly class, and then they were communicated to all of the people. That is what the very, very ultra-orthodox people say. But then the modern people say that, modern scholars, they do say that all these things probably were seen, they were all composed over a period of a couple of centuries, a few centuries, by some of these monks, some of these say people who renounced all their families, and then they just spent their whole time on finding out what is the supreme truth. So the Hinduism is not based on the experience of a single monk or a prophet or a philosopher, but then it is based on the experience of several writings, several sages who composed several writings, and these writings, they were called Vedas, and all the otherwise the last portions of the Vedas, they were also called Vedanta. The end portions of the Vedas were called Vedanta. So these were the basic texts for Hinduism, and this is about more than 5000 years old. So this broadly is the picture of the major religions in the world, and we will continue next.